Good morning, parents. Kirk Jones, high school pastor, North Coast Fallbrook, bringing you the weekend recap for December the 9th, 2012. We started a new series, James. Chapter 1 we did yesterday, and we got about halfway through it. I'm kind of excited because we're going verse by verse, and we don't do that a whole lot. It's not super popular way of teaching for high school students because of their attention span, but if I feel like I'm starting to lose them, we go from there. So I'm just kind of going to go through my notes for you because I didn't have it wasn't super topical, and I'll try and go really fast. So James, we talked about who he was, brother of Jesus, didn't become a Christian until after Jesus was dead. His introduction in verse 1 says nothing about that, and it talks all about he's a servant of the Lord. So I said, in college, when I introduced myself, it was, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is how cool I am, and this is where I'm excelling, and these are things that I'm good at. And so where's our identity type of a thing? Do we introduce ourselves and promote what we're doing, or is our introduction, hey, I'm a Christian, and I'm serving the Lord? Kind of interesting how James could have said, hey, I'm brother of the most famous person that ever lived, and he said, I'm a servant of God. Verses 2 and 4 talked about trials and how we should consider them pure joy, that we don't need to feel great about them. Kind of unpacked joy a little bit. It's more that understanding of why it is that we go through trials, and how God can work in our lives. That eventually develops perseverance, which makes us mature and complete, not lacking anything. So spiritual maturity is learning how to navigate life, understanding that life is going to be cruddy at times, learning how to wait well, things like that. We talked about perseverance and what that meant. All of a sudden, it seems like James jumps ships to wisdom, and says, if anyone who desires wisdom, he should ask God, and God will give generously without finding fault. And so the interesting here is that it is one paragraph, it is one complete thought, and James is saying, guess what? You can actually know, you can actually seek wisdom and understand why we go through trials and difficult times. And how amazing would it be, hindsight's 20/20, how amazing would it be if we knew how it is that God was working in our life when we were going through the trial. So basically, I said two very important phrases. Never forget that God's word is God's word. We were expecting God to give us a sign or some symbol or speak to us verbally, something like that. We have the Bible. That's where all of our answers are. The other thing that I wrote down was wisdom starts with the Bible, wisdom ends with the Bible. When we have questions, when we have doubts, obviously conversations, seek wise counsel, all those things, but I think we underestimate the power of praying about something and then jumping into God's word. And that doesn't mean that you're going to land on some magical verse, but as we seek after God, as we dig into his word, we gain wisdom and understanding. We talked about the rich man. Already this video is getting really long. So we talked about the rich man, and I just kind of brought up the idea that, I said, how many of you in this room would say that you're rich? No one raised their hand. And then I talked about, because we have access to clean water, we're basically top 25 richest people in the world. We need to be rich towards God. Everyone has been blessed to go out and bless others. And that means that most people in third world countries don't have a whole lot to share. It means that we probably have more things than we realize that we can share and use to bless other people. And then it says that the rich man is going to fade away even while he goes about his business. He's going to fade away with the world. And all of a sudden, hey, we're the rich people now. Well, that doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to fade away unless we have our identity in this world. Kind of going back to just that first verse, how James introduced himself. Where's your identity? Is it eternal? If it is, it's going to last. If it's earthly, it's going to fade away with the earth. And then first service, we ended there. Second service, we went a little bit farther into temptation, what that looks like. We talked about how there were two trees in the garden, and that sin is always a choice. We can never blame it on our upbringing or our history or anything like that. We always have a choice to sin. So we're going to pick up in James chapter 1, part 2 next week. And yeah, I'm excited. Sounds like your students are pretty excited. Encourage them to take that time seriously, definitely. It's not very often that we get to just like dig in and get really serious about the Bible, except for Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights. So I would hope that they show up to church and have a great time, but they're understanding too what church is about. Okay, see you next week.